important that there's also quite a bit of outside opportunities that you can do with it. You actually through ramps and also pyramids, you can still see through it clearly. So I think there's still a few things to be tampered with from it, but I think overall it makes the overall vision of the game a little bit more difficult. It's still possible, but overall I think a solid patch coming in from Epic Games as usual.
Well, we are now going to see Myth and Hamlin's going against Nick, Mercs, and Parallax, which is good to see Nick Mercs still in our tournament. Of course, Cypher a little bit further on, but maybe Nick Mercs is going to make it just as far as his ex-teammate Cypher. But this is, in fact, Game 2. We'll be getting a score update to you relatively soon. But, of course, can't really tell anything. Normally I would say, well, Nick Mercs, Parallax, they're both going to be at Tilted. But this is the area that, of course, we talked about Nick Mercs likes to go. So who knows what the score is overall. But Myth and Hamlin's, they're going to be at their typical slots, at least over here it looks like by Salty. And overall, pretty standard.
A ridiculous first-round matchup for Nick Mercs again. So, the fact that he's grinding through his losers bracket the way he does, it's just another day in the office for Nick. But they're doing a phenomenal job grinding that losers. And look, Nick, as we're used to seeing Nick do, drops Tilted at the castle, which is really his castle, I think is what we should call it at this point. This man loves dropping into the spot. Let's see what they can do over at Tilted.
And one thing that I like, too, about the team change, of course, Nick Mercs and Cypher, they both showed along players who I think kind of actually complement their play a little bit more. Cypher more methodical, needs like a solid Slayer who isn't necessarily always wanted to go to Tilted Towers. He wants to kind of change things up, maybe go salty, go retail, etc. One thing that's nice here for Nick Mercs, actually, that kind of coincides is Parallax, very aggressive player for 100T as well. So this is a guy who you can kind of rely on who also wants to go to the towers with you. I think over time in that duo-ship of Nick and Cypher, it was a matter of Nick saying, hey, I want to keep going to the towers. I think it's going to work for us. It's high risk, high reward play. I'm all about that. I think Cypher over time just started to kind of realize maybe this wasn't the greatest strategy, something that he wasn't kind of used to or maybe wanted to do. Parallax is the opposite, man. He's all about this aggressive play. He's a super insane reaction time type of guy as well. I think both teams really got kind of a more similar player to their overall play style. I think that's only going to work more in their favor as tournaments kind of progress.
Yeah. One kill lead as you did in fact see going into this second round, but of course it is tied up as Nick Mercs is sitting at 1 kill himself, but engagements will happen as Myth and Hamlin's have worked their way over towards retail, and there's some players in front of him. Myth being very aggressive, pushing up with that sub, and he is unrelenting. Of course, we saw him order food earlier. He has food in his stomach, and let's see if it makes a difference overall in his gameplay, but he will be, in fact, getting tagged up and down in health. He's going to have to pop those minis relatively soon, give him a little bit of a buffer, but there's players below him, in front of him. This is a dangerous spot, but look at him fall out, lasering with that sub.
It is unbelievable how much damage that tactical submachine gun does. Great job by Myth right there of using that, and of course Hamlin's coming to the rescue and keeping his teammate alive. Myth really tagged up here, needs to be a little bit cautious, but again, the Hamlin's duo is always there for him.
And one thing that's nice when it comes down to both of these players, rather, is, while they both kind of play a little bit too similar, in my opinion, I think when it comes into like the competitive scene, I think one of them needs to kind of establish more of a different role in this lineup. But one thing that's nice is that both of these guys are incredibly great when it comes into communication, which is very nice to see. They're constantly kind of being aware of each other's, kind of surroundings, saying, hey, like I'm one shot, or I need to do this, we need to do that. I think it's always nice to see a team who can kind of improve maybe necessarily where the slaying can kind of come at to a fault, or maybe when you're in an awkward spot, is to always have that communication at your backside.
It's been very quiet for Nick Mercs and Parallax over there, only still sitting at 2 kills, whereas meanwhile Myth and Hamlin's really heating up at retail. Notice I believe they landed salty in the beginning. They now rotated over towards retail, and this is kind of one of those things that comes about hitting all of your areas. And Tilted is a phenomenal area to go to, but if it's slow, and it's going to play totally against you. We do see Nick Mercs. He is going to be tagged up a little bit in a fight himself, as this player is doing a lot of damage. Luckily, Nick Mercs is able to get it, but still raining down bullets is going to be the player just above, and you notice no mats in the hands of Nick Mercs, so he's got to be careful as this player is in fact going to push as he was trying to pop him in. He's not going to be able to get it. Wow. Nick Mercs has to go big here, and he does get the elimination, and hopefully he'll get a little respite as he'll be able to get some of those shields up and heal up a little bit. But you notice he's sitting at 4 now as we see 2 for the man of Parallax, and with that being said, that's 6. That puts him a 1 kill up over the man of Myth and Hamlin's.
I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but Parallax hit an insane hunting rifle shot to actually help Nick Mercs stay alive. There was a moment where that guy was at the very top of that fort and just kind of peeks around the corner, Parallax, making it look super, super easy. I know it's kind of difficult for us to try to keep on board with every perspective that we have, a lot of different moments kind of happening at once, but one that I hope that if you guys didn't get to watch it, Twitch clip it and go back to see it. Parallax making it look easy with that hunting rifle.
Yep, take a look down. Nick right there. That's put himself in a pretty bad spot, but great support from Parallax. You said exactly that with the hunting rifle plays to keep Nick alive there. No mats for Nick. Maybe didn't have a good gauge for where he was at in the mat category. But that's the nice thing about this new edition of Tilted is this construction area has mats for days. So finally you can get some wood if you drop Tilted.
Yeah.
More reason for Nick to go back to his homeland.
Back to his homeland. I like that. Nick Merck's homeland tilted. Let's see if he'll be able to keep rocking it. As they've literally been here the entire game, whereas you're seeing a different strategy from Myth and Hamlin's. They've kind of been rotating through, but they will in fact have to travel a little bit, whereas Nick Merckx and his partner Parallax are going to be inside of the circle.
And then that's a huge kind of positive if you're Nick Merckx and Parallax in this situation. It's a matter of, hey, we can kind of remain around this area. We can even play a little bit more of a gatekeeper role toward like outside perspectives, north or really kind of west or north, essentially when it comes down to what locations are more prominent. But yeah, that's the one negative if you're Myth and Hamlin's, right? Being at that kind of more prominent zone, you kind of make your way around through Salty Springs Retail Road like you mentioned, but the only negative for them is they do have to make a little bit of a jaunt forward. So we'll see how that kind of affects their gameplay overall, and that's definitely going to play favor toward Nick Merckx and Parallax. The RNG of the zone, while it is obviously a thing, this time around it works out for Nick and co.
Yep, and take a look again. Parallax bottom left of your screen. No AR, green SMG, and look how accurate that thing is from a mid-range to a distance. So, again, the green SMG meta is strong here. We'll keep kind of tracking that and keeping an eye on that so you guys can get your game better and learn from the pros and what they're doing. Of course, Parallax, well, a member of the pro team for 100 Thieves. Nick has a chance to play with him for the first time today.
And obviously, those SMGs, he's got 2 of them. They're great for knocking down the builds of the opponent's fort, as you can kind of see him doing that. So, good stuff to him overall.
Yeah, especially compared to the shotgun nowadays,
Absolutely.
too, which received a pretty major nerf. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely did. That's for sure. But yeah, here comes the more silent SMG
that, man.
shots as he just
melts.
lights up an enemy. Probably thinking that was a scar. My friend, actually, that was a green SMG. A few days ago, you'd be absolutely laughing, but now you're only just falling to your death. Fantastic plays coming in from Parallax, of course, like you just mentioned there. Of course, one of the players for 100T, as they've been actually adding a few players, not just pro players, but also players in the organizations. Of course, typical known player in our tournaments, Noah J, just got added as a content creator. So awesome to see 100T being represented in a multitude of ways. Just one of the awesome organizations that we have in Fortnite competitive.
Yeah, I like that 100T is kind of moving out there. They've obviously been a great organization, especially since Nate Shot's been spearheading that back in the day, and he created that, and we kind of looked at it, was like, wow, that's crazy that he's leading this, and obviously moving into Fortnite was a great opportunity for him to do so, as they've got a great professional team, but on top of that, great content creators. But as I say that, hey, paying off. We see the score 25-24. TSM had a little minor lead, but it's a tight game overall. Mind you, this is in fact game 2. Whoever loses this will be moving off and be out of this tournament. So big rounds overall, and I think big for the players out there if you're a TSM fan, but also if you're a Nick Merckx fan. But as you see that Hamlin's does go down.
What is he doing? What is he doing?
Nate off his back.
This guy is an absolute potato. I mean, literally.
But he
got him!
Oh, no.
I cannot believe that just happened.
He just bounced a grenade off of Hamlin's back, and the ricochet takes him down, the splash damage. Oh, poor Hamlin. That's going to be so unfortunate. The guy literally doesn't have any ammo, so he just starts chucking nades.
Jeez.
Oh, that's
just as I was talking about TSM 2.
Yeah.
Of course, though, Myth, he's tied the record last tournament with 24 total kills within a game, so potentials for him to come back. He's sitting pretty at 7 kills himself. Of course, they were only down 1. Nick Merckx and Parallax, though, they're hot on that circle. They're going to be playing that gatekeeper role. Now, they've moved in. They have the advantage in terms of distance overall, but they are spread apart. So one thing is for sure, there is some fights that we will see Myth get into that maybe Nick Merckx and Parallax won't be able to find. But the only thing holding them alive now is there's going to be a 2-frag lead for Myth, and let's see if he can hold it.
I'm going to say, too, regarding, of course, we're heading into week number 8 of Friday Fortnite. I think probably the last 2 weeks leading into this one, this is the best Fortnite that I've been seeing Myth play, like I said, since the tournaments have even began. I know he played in the very first one, actually, with Nade Shot. There's been a lot of speculation as, is Myth really that, confident player? Can he really be one of the best players in the world after obviously having like the fall damage jokes in prior tournaments, whether it's been E3, Ninja Vegas, etc. He has been lights out in Friday Fortnite over the last few weeks, and of course that 24 solo record only just even goes to show it. But he has been an insane player, and speaking of insane, Parallax, just a bullet to a ramp, and there goes the entire Taj Mahal in a matter of seconds as entering in toward that Loot Lake mansion. But just going back off of Myth quickly, I think he is turning into one of the more better players currently in the competitive scene. I think he's been a very solid player for a while, but I think he's recently kind of came into his element as far as being a real kind of hardcore dominant guy, not just solely a builder anymore. He's got a fantastic shot on him, and he's only improved, I think, with tournaments such as these.
Yeah, Riley, so obviously being the team captain at TSM, he's kind of starting to fit into his role. Now, mind you, he's still a very young player. I think he's one of the youngest ones.
He's 18.
He's only 18. So one of the youngest ones, and already team captain, there's a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he's starting to fill into that role even more so. And, of course, still 6 months before we start seeing really the World Tour come into play. But we do see now Parallax over there at Loot Lake. Now he's going to be in the center of it and manages to pick up a kill himself, showing that, the mats that he used to get over there obviously wasted a lot of resources, but it's going to pay off in terms of overall getting the kills. Of course, they've got to be happy, but look who joined them over there in that center circle is, in fact, going to be Myth, as he's going to be trying to steal as many kills as he can. Now, Nick Merckx and Parallax at this point, Myth is with you. Do you split off?
I think you do with how close this game is. It's not a matter of like, hey, for Nick Merckx and Parallax, it's like, hey, we don't have like a massive lead, so we can obviously kind of stick with them. I think that, like I said, it's a close game. There's no harm in trying to split off. You have the same. You have much more opportunities than Myth does. Yeah. Question being, does that one player who happens to split off from the other, does he stay with Myth? Like, do you have two guys go in totally different directions, or do you have one go in a different direction and one hang with Myth? That's really the question to be asking. But I think, to answer your question, I think a split is necessary, and I think it wouldn't hurt by any means.
Yeah, I was just gonna say exactly that. I think you actually flip the table a little bit and you counter Myth by staying and mirroring Myth. Look what he just did. He just picked up a kill or two over on the other side of Loot Lake. If you have someone shadowing him right there, yes, Myth might get 50, 60, 70% of those kills, but guess what? You have Parallax popping off on the other side of the map. Let Nyx try and steal whatever kills he can by mirroring Myth instead. They're going to let Myth go off and do his own thing, which I think can be a little bit dangerous here, but can you believe the finish we're going to have here? We'll get a score update for you guys as soon as we can.
Tied.
But is it tied?
It's tied.
What an ending.
Oh, it's not tied. Sorry, I thought it was.
We'll get that score update
because Myth got a kill.
27-28, one kill game with only 6 people left in the game here.
Essentially, it is tied when it comes to a Fortnite game, though, realistically. Right? We talk about like the amount of engagements that obviously occur throughout a game. But yeah, man, just even more credit to how well both these squads are matching up right now.
Absolutely. So just one kill down, I guess, is going to be Myth and Hamlin. So, but like you said, he split off. How is that going to pan out? But it seems like it's going to work as Nick Merckx and Parallax do, in fact, get in an engagement as we see a knock coming in on Parallax's screen. And, of course, it's going to be finished off from Nick Merckx as the aggression is going to come in. And you got to be aggressive at this point. That's going to be 2 eliminations now to continue that lead forward. And once again, can he get another one? Yes, he can. Gets that knock, and we're getting down to the final few remaining players. And at this point, Myth, where's he at?
And Myth is actually going to have to rotate all the way back across Loot Lake and finally catches up to the 100 Thieves roster. And, it's a really close one here, but crazy upset looming here for 100 Thieves over TSM. Who would have thought you'd see Myth and Hamlin's eliminated by Nick Merckx and Parallax, a new duo here in this one.
It would be crazy, but rocking out the dual pistols. Of course, the shotgun is
It
there,
gets the
but
kill.
Unfortunately, Nick Merckx is going to steal it right out from under, not from TSM, but from Myth himself, right? Of course, one of the faces of TSM Fortnite, but solid plays coming through, and I think we have
Nick Merckx cheering, and that's going to be all she wrote here.
Jeez.
What an upset. So TSM, who's made it to so many grand finals here in these Friday Fortnite events, eliminated and upset by Nick Merckx and Parallax of 100 Thieves. A phenomenal showing for the 103 squad in their very first Friday Fortnite. Great gameplay from Nick and Parallax as a first duo.
So I just want to highlight, obviously we came into this with a storyline. The first round that we have was Nick Merckx and Cypher facing off against each other, ex-teammates. Individually, both of them split up. They get new teammates, and now they're both making it further in the tournament than they've made in the past. Cypher already sitting there at the losers final round, and Nick Merckx making his way forward as well, 33-28, as they are looking extremely strong overall. But gotta say, for the 100 T-Boys, I'm excited for them because now they're going to be moving forward, and their next match is going to be against Mitch Jones and Grenader Jake.
Very doable.
Very doable, in fact. But then they
Good way
move
to
on
say it,
then they move on potentially to face off against Optic Courage and face Scissors.
Yeah.
Which, could you imagine? Now, this is totally crazy, but could you imagine we have a Nick Merckx and Cypher losers finals?
Oh my gosh.
That'd be awesome
Right?
to see. That's a great point.
Epic story.